All right. So here we are. Matt, welcome.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being with me today, for sharing your time with the group. So we're streaming live on Holistic Health for Men. And as I shared with you, the intention is to create this space for guys to kind of learn about different approaches to well-being from a holistic perspective. So meaning to say we address any topic that would be beneficial to the body, to the mind, and also the spirit. As I don't know if you know, but I'm an energy healer, and I work with plant medicine, different modalities, and so and movement, a lot of movement, and of course nutrition is a part of it. When you're working with energy, there's everything is energy, right? So yeah, this is our second in a long list of series. I got ahead of myself and contacted a whole bunch of amazing men that I feel could contribute to the group, and so we can you guys can share your medicine, and I'm here to hold space for you. And yeah, it's really an honor to be able to do this. So so first of all, Matt, can you just tell us a little bit, where you're calling in from, and what you're doing, what you do at the moment?
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. So I'm a nutritionist. I was a personal trainer, and then 20 odd years ago, decided that nutrition was probably 80% of the equation when you're trying to, get in shape and get healthy. So I did my studies back in 2002 for nutrition, and just recently I've moved to a place called Hervey Bay in Queensland. And I've just opened up a little practice here in a place called the Holistic Healing Haven in Hervey Bay, and I work with
Perfect,
a bunch of
right?
I just walked into a coffee shop actually one day, and I said, oh, I really appreciate your food, because they serve this amazing sort of vegan, healthy food. And I said, as a nutritionist, I really appreciate it. And he said, oh, where are you practicing? And I said, nowhere at the moment. I just moved. And he said, well, at the back, we've got this holistic healing haven. We've got Reiki specialists, we've got energy healers, and we've been looking for a nutritionist. So I had a look at the room, and the door code on the room was actually my father's favourite number, who passed away last year twice. And then I saw a picture on the wall behind me, which was of a place that I just moved from. And so I saw that as a sign. I've opened up in Hervey Bay. So yeah,
Wow.
loving life here. It's near the beach, and just started this nutrition practice and helping people with degenerative diseases like cancer and diabetes and Alzheimer's and that sort of thing.
Congratulations on your space, first of all.
Thank you.
When did you move in there?
Well, it was I think March that I signed the lease, and then 3 days later the wellness centres got closed all over Queensland. So it was closed for about 8 weeks, and then we reopened about 4 weeks ago. So about 4 weeks in, just sort of getting to know people around the area and helping some beautiful people get through cancer. And it's been really rewarding and a little bit different to what I've been doing just over the last sort of 6 years. I was managing health clubs, but always sort of staying within some nutrition.
Yeah. Right. So the title of our talk is, food as medicine, and I'd really be happy for you to share with us, the link between how food is medicine, and how the link between what we eat and how it affects. I mean, everyone knows it would affect, our bodies, but how does it affect overall, like our mental health as well, or does it affect?
Yeah. Well, I guess every cell in our body is created or sort of affected by what we eat. And if you look at how many times we eat a day, most people eat sort of 5 times a day, 7 days a week. That's 1,820 meals a day, a year. Sorry. So if you think about all that food going into your body, 1,820 meals, you've got an opportunity to either eat something which is going to nourish your body, heal you from within, or something which is going to be toxic, create inflammation, and sort of harness to sort of help disease grow within our body. So I think that what we eat really determines the quality of our health. So the quality of the food, if we put rubbish in, we're going to get rubbish out. There's around about a ton of food we eat per year. And I always, like for guys as well, I try and relate it to a car. So everyone, you know, if you've got a car, if your car runs on petrol, you wouldn't go fill it up with diesel and expect it to run effectively. But that's what we do with our bodies quite often. We put in refined carbohydrates, you know, manufactured food, stuff which we aren't designed to run on. And then we kind of get shocked when our body breaks down. So I really see food as, you know, the main tool that we can use to either make ourselves healthier, to beat disease and also prevent disease.
Right. Actually, I'm just thinking, I know I'm maybe going away from our scheduled talk, but I'm interested in knowing more about also the emotional link that men would have to food, because you know, women have a very, very strong emotional connection to food, right? And you know, like
I
emotional
think that might,
binge eating. Yeah.
I think it might be a bit of a common misconception that women are more emotionally driven to food, because emotions can be stress. Guys encounter stress a lot, and stress eat. You know, and it's kind of a vicious cycle. Something will happen, like you lose your keys and you go, oh shit, you know, I've lost my keys, it's a bad day, I'm going to go through the drive-through at McDonald's as opposed to getting something healthy at home. And so when we eat poorly and we do it repeatedly, then we start to put fat on. And so the more fat we have on our body, the higher our blood pressure goes. So because, say for instance, I'm 100 kilos and I'm 40 kilos as fat, my heart will pump to the 100 kilos, but it bounces off that 40 kilos of fat because it can't pass through that dense tissue. So that increases my blood pressure. So the more fat I put on, the easier it is for me to get my blood pressure up, the shittier I feel, and the more likely I am to go and eat something bad again. And so it's that kind of vicious cycle. And when we put on weight, we tend to get depressed. It's easier to get stressed and emotional to eat as well. So it's kind of that vicious cycle that we sometimes quite hard to break. And I think, you know, men have body image issues as well. You know, as a kid, I was overweight and used to get teased at school. When I was at school, I was at a boys' school, and so instead of having like bandanas or something to determine two different teams, there would be one team would have shirts on and the other one would have shirts off. And of course, I would always be the one with the shirts off. And
Wow.
so it was,
Oh my God. Yeah. Imagine that in a girls' school.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That wouldn't happen at a girls' school, no. You probably wouldn't get away with it these days either, you know, with boys,
Yeah.
because, you know, what can happen. So I was always on that team with the shirts off. And so I would get teased by the other kids. They would say things like, you know, Matt's got more rolls than a bakery. That was a good
Right.
one.
Right.
Matt's got man boobs and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, so that could be quite hurtful as a kid. But back then, you know, 30 years ago when I was at school, I was one of 3 fat kids at that school with about 1,000 pupils. But now it's, you know, so many kids are overweight. It's probably more common to be overweight than not at school these days. So that sort of affected me from being a kid, having that sort of emotional damage. And you kind of feel that if I'm overweight, I'm not good enough, you know, it's because other kids would teach you. So it's that's what sort of sparked me into getting into nutrition, because I realized that what I eat can affect how I look. But then now, as I've gotten older, I've realized that what you eat can affect your health, and I think that's more important.
So when you were growing up, like what kind of food were you eating? Were you fed? Was it like what's a typical Australian?
Yeah,
I don't know. Is it like
well,
meat and potatoes or?
I would. My mum was a really good baker, so I would come home from school and there would be these biscuit tins full of, you know,
Oh,
cakes, and
wow.
it was fantastic. All my friends loved my mum because she always had, you know, all these trays of different cakes and biscuits and stuff. So I'd have a couple of those, and then I would, you know, go back to the pantry and I'd get a little bag of chips and a couple of little Mars bars or something, and sit in front of the TV till dinner was ready.
Oh my
And
God.
then I have 2 older brothers, and I think this is one of the things that formed my relationship with food, or probably my bad relationship with food that I've had to overcome, was having 2 older brothers. You know that they eat a lot. They ate more than me. So I would go and get dinner, and I would make sure that my first portion of food was very large, because I knew might not be an opportunity to go back for seconds.
Oh my
And then
God, 3 boys, yeah, for
I
sure.
know, and then I would eat it really, really fast to make sure that I could go back for seconds. So
Oh my God.
even now, I have to sit down. When I sit down, I have to be very mindful about how I eat, and tell myself to slow down. It's not a race. There'll be some more, and sort of take that time. So there's various things I think that happen when we're younger that really forms that relationship that we have with food. And when we are overweight, we do get judged, just like women. Men get judged. Oh, he's a slob, he doesn't take care of himself. It's when you can't fit your clothes, you feel just as bad as what a woman. Well, some men don't give a shit, right? So some men really
You
don't
tell
care.
me, you tell me. I've never had body image discussions with guys, honestly.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, but a lot of guys do, and it's another instance, when I was about 12 years old, we were playing dares with some friends, and there's about 3 or 4 girls we used to hang out with, and 3 or 4 guys. And this girl Antoinette, she would spin the bottle, and then someone dared me to kiss her. So we went behind the shed, and I went to go and kiss her, and she didn't want to kiss me because I was overweight. And
No!
I know, I know. And so I said to her, what do I need to? Because I actually quite liked her, and I, her loss now. And I said to her, what do I need to do? She goes, well, you could probably lose 5 or 10 kilos.
Oh my God! How old are you?
Like 12, yeah.
Wow!
Maybe
Oh
11,
my
maybe 11 o'clock.
God!
But,
Crazy!
so that's sort of,
It's very young to be for. Wow! She was your
yeah,
age or older?
yeah, no, she was my age. But,
What?
so I think there is, we've all had instances, if you've been
That's
overweight.
traumatic. That's like a trauma.
Yeah, it was a bit of a trauma. So I ended up buying so many of those really bad home gym things, So I would use them for, like 3 days, and then they would gather dust, and my mum would sell them or give them away. So it wasn't until I was about 17 and I was working in a place which sold diamond saw blades, but I was a trainee sort of marketing guy, and I used to complain to my boss that I wasn't comfortable with my weight, and he said, well, there's a gym across the road, why don't you go join it? Probably sick of hearing me moan about it. And so that's when I when I was 17, started exercising, but I didn't know that you had to eat well as well. And someone told me that when you exercise, you need to eat more. So it actually blew up even larger. So yeah. And then when I was 20, I started working in a gym for the guy who told me to eat more food, because he opened a gym. And I thought, I was still quite overweight, but I thought it would be a good challenge to be a personal trainer. And then I learned about the nutrition side of things and sort of put the package together, and that's what I've been doing for the last 20 odd years. Yeah.
So before we go back to, nutrition per se, which is kind of the topic that we have for today, I wanna just touch on this topic of how the bullying you experienced really was an impetus for you to get fit and to help others get fit. So I think that's also something important to point out, how our relationship to the trauma, in our acknowledging of the trauma, because sometimes things happen and we don't even recognize, we don't allow ourselves to acknowledge it, and so it stays there and acts like as a self-sabotaging mechanism unconsciously. So you were able to kind of like go there and be like, fuck this, it's painful, I don't want to be rejected by girls because I'm overweight anymore. And then like you really went out of that victim state and took action on that. So that's really beautiful. And
I think I'm kind of lucky that I did put that link together, that was where some of those issues were coming from. Like you said, a lot of people live with it and they don't know where those feelings are coming from. So I think, going back to that, and then I'm very grateful for those experiences. I think if I hadn't had those experiences, then I couldn't be empathetic to other people that have gone through similar things. And then now, as I've gotten older, I really focus on trying to eat to be healthy. And I really believe that if we eat things that come from the ground, and the things that nature intended us to eat, the weight will take care of itself. You don't need to focus on the weight. You focus on eating for health, and the weight will basically take care of itself.
I totally agree. I've actually had, sometimes I've had people come to me and with a weight issue, and I'm like, let's first of all like throw away the scale. That's like the first thing I say. We're gonna focus on, self-acceptance, self-love, stuff like that, and
Yeah.
then the rest will just follow, right? So Matt, can you tell? Are you? What's your diet like now? Are you vegetarian? Are you vegan or?
I went vegetarian about sort of 2.5 years ago, and then sort of meat crept back in a little bit. But I'm predominantly now plant-based. I have on Mondays I have about 150 grams of chicken. On Wednesdays I have white fish. Fridays I have a serving of like oily fish, and then on Sundays I have a small portion of red meat. So I have it's all organic or freshly, wild caught. But I think it's important. I mean,
Okay, so
I
you're,
think it's
eating
important to
red
get.
meat.
Yeah, I think it is important to get a little bit of those things. I don't think you should exclude complete food groups. You can get protein through plant-based sources, but it's not quite the same. So I think it's, there's nothing wrong with a vegan diet, but I think it's good to have a balance. So yeah, and I eat sort of a very moderate amount of protein, whereas I used to eat a lot. And then I eat quite a lot of good quality fats through some avocado and oils, olive oil, coconut oil. And I guess it's kind of like a therapeutic ketogenic diet, but not excluding.
I was gonna say you have a ketogenic website, right? Is that something you're promoting? That's isn't it like protein based?
Well, there's a bit of a misconception. So Atkins diet sort of was very, very high in protein. The Atkins diet basically said eat as much meat and cheese and bacon and processed meats and crap like that you want, and you'll lose weight. And people did lose weight, but they became very unhealthy as well. So I think the way that I prescribe my nutrition is high quality, low amounts of meat. Not heaps of bacon and cheese and stuff, which is typical in a ketogenic diet.
Do you eat dairy? Do you eat dairy? Dairy products?
I personally try not to have too much dairy. There's a couple of reasons for it. One thing is that dairy is very high in antibiotics and growth hormone, which is injected into the cows. So
even if it's not if it's organic, right?
Organic, yeah. So organic fermented dairy, and I think it still has a good place in the diet. But generally, dairy which is traditionally farmed is going to be having a lot of antibiotics given to the cows so that they can milk them past the point that they should be. Because generally, when cows are milked too long, they get mastitis, which is pus in the milk. Yum yum yum. And so they give them antibiotics to stop that, and then they also inject them with growth hormones as well, which goes into the milk. Same with chicken. So if I do eat beef or dairy, I make sure it's always organic. Yeah.
So I mean, when I was growing up, sorry.
What was the question before that? I kind of go off on tangents. So I apologize.
No, I don't remember. It's all good. It's all related. By the way, there are a bunch of hi everyone on Facebook. If you have any questions for Matt, please go ahead and just type it in the box. David is here from Bali, and he's saying he's on an extreme diet. He's eating coconut and fruitarian. He's on a fruitarian diet. But David, you're an exception. I don't recommend that diet for everyone, but especially if you have like a physical, like a workout routine and all that. But David is on his own path, a different path for now. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to get into some of the questions that we had discussed and that I'd posted in the group about the relationship between gut health. This is so interesting to me, gut health and depression, for example. Like personally, I've been trying to eat kimchi, for that.
Yeah.
That's related to gut health, right? Like kombucha, all that stuff. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, so we've sort of recently found out that our gut or our gut microbiota is can have a real effect on depression and how we think with our moods and stuff.
Yes.
So it's very, very, very strange. But no, first of all, the thing which I've always focused on is getting your gut right, because 70% of our immune system is stored in the gut. So if
Yeah, I was going to say, when you say gut, what are we talking about? Like large intestine? Like what are we talking about?
so from your basically from your esophagus down to your rectum. So it's your
Oh, including
gastrointestinal.
your stomach, that whole.
Yeah. Yeah. So inside your stomach, there is there's different bacteria. There's good bacteria and bad bacteria. And if the mix of good and bad bacteria is off, then that can really affect, it can create inflammation and irritation. So so you've got like your enteric, enteric, I know this one. Your central nervous system, you've got your central nervous system, and then you've got enteric nervous system. So your enteric nervous system is it's about 100 million nerve cells, which goes from your esophagus right down to your rectum. And that can be thrown out by having too much bad bacteria, or the microbiota being imbalanced. And so when that's inflamed or irritated, it can send a message to your central nervous system, which then can trigger different mood changes in your body.
So this is it hormonal?
Not necessarily hormonal. It's more driven by, so if say you are very stressed, that can have an effect on your gut flora. If you have a long course of antibiotics is going to reduce the amount of probiotics.
Oh, antibiotics. Antibiotics.
Yeah. So
I thought you said antibiotics.
Antibiotics.
Antibiotics are so bad. Yeah. That's why they tell you to take like the lactobacillus, right? Sometimes when you.
Yeah. So the best way you can try and get your gut health back is, like you said, eating kimchi or sauerkraut, or having some kombucha, which is going to help put more good bacteria or probiotics into your stomach. So if anyone is experiencing depression, there's a good chance that it could be stemmed from bad gut health.
So if you're experiencing depression, what would you advise? How do we change the diet?
So there are various things you want to avoid, things like sugar, or things that are going to get broken down into sugars. So not just sugar, but pasta, high glycemic carbohydrates like potatoes. When you eat those kind of things, all the good stuff. When you eat those
comfort food.
Yeah, it's because people think that pasta and potatoes, they don't have any sugar in it. So why would it create sugar in the body? But your body can break it down very, very quickly, and we call those high glycemic carbohydrates. So you get this big spike of blood sugar.
Like the worst, right? White flour is like bad.
It's pasta.
I love it. I know, but bread, like what?
I love pasta. I love pasta. I love bread. I love potatoes. So
do I. But it's like you have to control your intake, because it turns into sugar.
Yeah, basically. So 1 cup of pasta is the equivalent to around about 40 grams of sugar that gets broken down into your body. So
I would typically have more than a cup in a meal, right?
Yeah, and then for people that are trying to reduce the amount of fat that they're eating, they would have sort of a tomato-based, sauce with some other vegetables, which are more carbohydrates. So say you have pasta with a tomato-based sauce and some vegetables for lunch, you're going to get this big spike of blood sugar. Your body freaks out and releases insulin. So your pancreas is squeezing to release insulin to get the sugar out of your blood and into the cells, so it can be used as energy. And it also, the insulin will force fat into fat cells. So anyone wants to lose weight, eating sort of a predominantly carbohydrate-based diet without fat and protein to stabilize your blood sugar levels, is going to have these big spikes. Body releases insulin, you have this big crash. So from a mental point of view, you're going to feel quite shitty after a lunch of high glycemic carbohydrates like potatoes and pasta. And that's usually why around about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people are feeling a bit sleepy and the body sending a message to the brain to seek out the vending machine and go and get a bar of chocolate to prop up the blood sugar, because they've gone from high unstable blood sugar to this massive crash. And that's what we call hangry. That's the term that's been coined, isn't it? Hangry. I hate that thing.
You're saying that having a plate of pasta with veggies and tomato sauce for lunch is not a healthy choice?
No, well, you think about pasta, what it's made of. It's made of water and bleached flour. So flour is probably the most nutrient deficient foods that we've got. You know, it's basically wheat that they've taken the shell off the wheat, so that all the fiber's gone. They grind it down into a fine powder. They bleach it, and then you mix it with a bit of water and yum, pasta. You know, and it is delicious because of the texture.
So what is carbo loading about? Isn't it like fuel for the body?
Well, see, the thing is, most people don't burn off all the carbs. So your body will always burn carbohydrates first, then fat, then protein, and then alcohol. So most people have, say you're burning 2,000 calories a day and you're eating predominantly a carbohydrate-based diet, which is a typical sort of vegan diet if you're not eating much fat. You've got so much carbohydrate that you can't burn off fat as the second fuel source. So 80% of your carbs have to be burned off first before you'll start tapping into fat as a fuel source. So if we've got too much carbohydrates and you're eating too much, and you can't tap into fat to be used as a fuel, so we tend to store the carbohydrates as fat, or not the carbohydrates as fat, but it forces the fat into the fat cells because we're not able to use the fat as a fuel. So it's not necessarily that healthy. And when you break down carbohydrates as well, body creates lactic acid, which can create inflammation. So, you know, I'm not saying all carbohydrates are bad. So sweet potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, mushrooms, bell peppers,
So
all
between
those.
like a steak and a plate of pasta, you would pick the steak.
Yeah, I would.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, pasta is,
But isn't also like
delicious, don't get me wrong.
protein, doesn't that cause inflammation?
So I think for guys, we tend to overeat with red meat and meat in general, and that can cause acidity and pressure on the liver and kidneys. And also for a lot of guys that eat a lot of meat and processed foods, then it can cause a lot of blockages in your colon and your intestines, and that's generally why men have more problems with those sort of cancers from the stomach region, because they tend to eat more meat. So I think it's definitely not a great thing to eat too much meat. But if it was a plate of pasta or a steak with some veggies like broccoli and cauliflower, I'd go for the steak. You look shocked.
Well,
you hate me right now.
no,
Yeah.
I've just, I've stopped eating red meat for some time. And I know it's just difficult when, you're trying to avoid carbs, you're trying to avoid meat, you're trying to avoid dairy. It goes down to, what's left if you're eating out, if you have some kind of social life. Of course, now, like I've been here for 4 months, so I pick what I eat, and it's pretty much like spinach and kale and like all of the like beans and stuff. So I can control it. But as soon as I step out of the house, it's a little tricky. It's a little trickier. So I usually say, if you can eat well, like 80 or 90% of the time, then.
Yep, that's absolutely right. Yeah, if you can get it right 80 to 90% of the time, you're doing well. But there's still plenty of things you can eat. There's like pumpkin and all those good above ground vegetables. So anything that grows above the ground, eat lots of them, go crazy. Anything that grows below the ground, the root vegetables tend to be more high glycemic, so releasing more sugar into the body much faster. So moderate those sort of veggies, like your potato, sweet potato, turnips and carrots and that sort of thing.
I want to say it also depends where you're living. Like I'm sure in Australia they have so many options, but like here in the Philippines, you've lived in the Philippines, right? That's where we know each other from. It's really, you've seen the menus here.
I know, it's pretty dismal. when you're paying like 250 pesos for a few tomatoes and stuff, it is hard to eat healthy there. I fully
It's
get
hard to
it.
eat healthy outside the house. Yeah, I mean things are kind of changing a bit, but still, it's not. You really need to be dedicated to this. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if there's one rule to go by, just eat things which only have one ingredient. If it's got more than one ingredient, or it comes from a packet, probably eat it in moderation or stay away. If it's got numbers on it that you don't understand what they are,
No, but
it's got
then
words.
they're gonna eat like a whole lechon. You know what I mean? Like a whole lechon.
One
Like
ingredient.
no, no.
Yeah, yeah, everything in moderation. But yeah,
No, I feel like with everything, people have to do their research and figure out what works for them.
yeah, I think I definitely think that eating too much meat is not a good thing. That's why I try to have like one serving of white fish, oily fish, one serve of beef, and one serve of chicken, and always make sure my beef and my chicken is organic. I know it's
See,
not
that's
always
also
easy.
difficult to trace here in the Philippines.
What was it?
But
Sorry.
it's hard to trace the origin in the
Yeah,
Philippines for meat.
yeah, and I wouldn't even always trust it.
What do you
Mm.
eat when you're in the Philippines, David? David,
Uh,
sorry. Matt.
I ate a lot of veggies. I love the like the banana heart. I do a lot of the puso na saging, and the mix that with
Oh,
the coconut. I ate a
do
lot
you
of canela. I used to eat pork. I loved humba. That was my favorite, and I can't bring myself to eat pork anymore.
you
No,
don't eat pork anymore? Okay.
no, it's pork and shellfish. I try not to eat too much of because they're generally scavengers. They'll basically eat anything, and they're
So
usually sort
also
of high in
you don't eat shellfish. Wow. Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
not not too much. Like I might have once or twice a month, so I don't
So when
exclude
you're
sort
saying
of.
they're scavengers, that means that they have a lot of like gross stuff in them, right?
Yeah, they filter out all the shit from the bottom of the sea, basically. So it's it's
Yeah, that's what someone told me was like shrimp are like cockroaches. Like, ew, really? I love
yeah,
shrimp. Yeah, but
and
that's why it's easier for me to just try to go vegan for the most part. Yeah.
yeah. I think we had a question, didn't we, from James? I think.
Yeah, he's asking about intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah. So intermittent fasting. Funny you should ask me. Intermittent fasting, just for people that don't know, it's basically when you stop eating for a period of time.
Yeah.
So like for myself, I eat dinner at about sort of 6:30 in the evening, and I don't eat till lunchtime the next day. So
Nice. So no
we know,
breakfast.
yeah. And then sometimes like on a Monday, like yesterday, I actually fast all day from dinner Sunday to dinner on
24
dinner.
hour.
Yeah, I do that sort of once every now and then. I do a 72-hour fast every
72
3
hours.
months.
Nice.
There's a lot of good research that shows that your body basically completely reboots, your immune system, everything just completely reboots. So yeah, the question was how it sort of affects your mental health, and I think it can affect your mental health in a really positive way, especially for men. But you have to kind of do it right. There's a few things that you need to, obviously if you're underweight, you don't want to be doing intermittent fasting, or if you have any sort of eating disorders, you don't want to do that because it might sort of spark other things.
You have an intense like workout routine.
Yeah, see, I've always for 20 years worked out in the morning, fasted with nothing in my stomach.
That's fine.
Yeah, again, going back to what I said before, so your body won't burn fat until it's burned 80% of your carbohydrate stores. So first thing in the morning, your carbohydrate stores are very low. So if you go to exercise with an empty stomach, you're more likely to be using fat as fuel source. So it's kind of more efficient efficient use of your time in the gym. But back to, so with fasting, if you're when we know that after about 12 hours, so if you're fasting, it needs to be more than 12 hours. So I do about 16 to 18 hours. we know that your body starts to, or the cells start to do this thing called autophagy. So autophagy basically is eating itself. So
Yeah.
the cells, all the damaged rogue cells start to get mopped up. The body cleans them out and starts to regenerate new cells. So your red blood cell production goes up, your immune system is boosted. So it's like that fight or flight sort of situation where your body says, I'm in a state of starvation now. I need to actually start boosting the immune system and prepare in cases of famine. So all these good things happen after 12 hours. So I try to hold it to about 16 hours. For men, growth hormone production is increased, which is really important because after the age of 40, we start to reduce our growth hormone production. And if we do have low amount of growth hormone or testosterone, that can really affect your mental status. So that's another thing. If anyone is experiencing depression, get your testosterone levels checked, because it's I've found with my clients over the years, probably about 30% of the time it's due to low testosterone.
Wait, so how is testosterone linked to our diet?
Well,
your diet?
Yeah. So if you're eating a lot of processed foods, refined carbohydrates, there's inflammation in your body, it can suppress your body's ability to produce testosterone. If you're eating a lot of things which have estrogen in them, like soy, there's a lot of soy, BPA in plastics. So if you're eating food, make sure it's not being stored in plastic containers, and especially not heating food in plastic containers, because the xenoestrogens from the plastic leaches into the food, and we eat it, and as men, our estrogen levels go up.
Estrogen? Matt, did you see there's estrogen in the plastic?
In plastics, yeah. Unless it's BPA free, there'll be estrogens in the plastic, and it leaches out. Yeah. So I always have glass containers for my. You can have a plastic lid, but a glass containers for your lunch, and if you're transporting food. But so yeah, as we get older, growth hormone production is reduced, and what we eat can either suppress it or support it. So that's really important. So intermittent fasting helps jack up your growth hormone production, immune system. Nice. There's a lot of really good things which happen. It helps regulate your blood sugar level and your insulin production, so it's easier for your body. Yeah, so it can help your moods, because your blood sugar levels will be much more stable throughout the day. So definitely, to answer the question, it has a positive effect on your mental health, providing you're not pregnant. I wouldn't do it if you're pregnant. If you're underweight, I wouldn't do it. And if you are diabetic, if you're diabetic, I think it's good to do it, but you need to be very careful how you do it. So you need to get a blood glucose tester and keep testing your glucose throughout, so you're not sort of going too low in blood sugar as well. Yeah, so it's
maintenance medicine. Can you do intermittent fasting? It's okay.
Depends on
like diabetes, like sugar or cholesterol sort of medicine.
Yeah, if you're on cholesterol medicine, it's obviously you want to do it, and I'm going to put out the disclaimer: do it in conjunction with your doctor. But generally, it's pretty safe to be able to do it. You just want to monitor your blood sugar levels, and also if your blood pressure is low, I probably would do it in conjunction with your doctor or someone that's close to you, in case you have any problems. But generally, sort of a 16 to 18 hour fast is pretty gentle, and you still get the benefits of the fasting, and it definitely can help with your mental health.
So what are your tips, like because we talked about that emotional link to food.
Yep.
So I try to do 14 hours, but after a while I'm like, I really like food, and it's also something fun to do at home. I'm by myself, I'm stuck at home. What are your tips for that, for when you're, like the discipline?
Yeah, I guess like sometimes you're sitting at home and there's this piece of chocolate cake sitting in the fridge, and it's calling out your names, going, Wendy, come get me. And what I would do is I always try and apply logic to the emotional response. So first of all, I try and get aware of what's happening in my brain. So why is that chocolate cake calling so loud? Is it because I'm bored? Is it because I'm stressed? Is it because I've been so good all week and I'm using a justification that, you know, I deserve this chocolate cake? So I try and think about, you know, first of all, I listen to the little voices in my head, and I try and apply some logic to the emotion. And then I think about eating the cake. And so I actually
Really?
visualize myself eating the cake. And then I feel, how would I feel after eating the cake? You know, if I've been eating really good, and I don't like good and bad, but if I've been eating foods which are, you know,
Healthy,
supporting my
yeah,
health, then I'll think, well, is it worth doing it? And I take myself to that place where I've actually eaten the chocolate cake. And usually after eating a piece of chocolate cake, you usually feel quite groggy and quite shit. So I think
I'm
about it.
guilty.
Yeah. And then I think, what could I eat which is probably better than the chocolate cake for me? So will I go and have an apple first? And then if I still want the chocolate cake after the apple, then I think, damn it, I'm going to eat the chocolate cake. But I'm not going to eat the chocolate cake and feel guilty. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy every mouthful. Because quite often when we feel that we're, been we succumb to the chocolate cake, and we feel guilty about it, and we eat it, and afterwards we haven't even scratched that itch. You know, we're just gone, oh, I've eaten the chocolate cake, I'm a
I
piece of
like
shit.
more, and I'm gonna eat chips.
Yeah, go to a corner and just cry into a fetal position, you know.
Wait,
And
so
so
my question, Matt, is this what you tell your clients, or do you really go through this
I do
process?
it. I do
Do
it.
you
Yeah,
really?
of course. Yeah, and quite often you get to the point where you're thinking about it and you're sort of applying that logic, and the emotional part of it goes, especially when you're listening to what's going on in your head. If you're listening to what's going on in your head and you
Do
go,
you have a
and you start
meditation practice?
to,
Do you practice meditation?
not very well. That's something which I'm trying
Well,
to get more into.
that's kind of like what meditation is. It's kind of sitting with what's happening and observing it. That's actually what, at the core of it, is meditation. Mindfulness practice. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
mindful. And
beautiful that you're mentioning this.
yeah, it's so that's sort of what I do, and quite often I don't go through with it, and sometimes I do and I enjoy it, and then I don't have to eat it again because I don't feel guilty and like a piece of shit when I was eating it. I enjoyed it, and it's scratched that itch, and I don't need to scratch that itch again for a while. Yeah, so I do try and
Nice.
think about things like that. And also another thing which I do is, and I'm not religious in any way, but when I do eat, I always say in my head, I say, I'm grateful for the nutrition that I'm about to receive. Because I think, you know, if you give it power, the food that you're eating, and you can feel that it's doing something inside you. Like first thing in the morning, I have a drink, which I make first thing in the morning. So I put kombucha, I put greens powder, so like a barley, wheatgrass powder. I put apple cider vinegar, fresh lemon, water, some stevia, because stevia sweetens and also helps alkalize your body because it's quite acidic in the morning. So I'm trying to reduce the amount of acidity. And I blend it up with some strawberries, and I have that as my first thing in the morning to try and reduce the acidity in my body and give myself some nourishment. And I just feel so good when I feel it going down, and I know it's all that good stuff getting in there and starting me off onto a good day. Yeah.
Wow. So there's really like so much to cover here. I feel I love that you're talking about this mindfulness practice. I'd love to talk more about the pH in our bodies, and also we haven't even touched about like food and cancer, for example, which is another really interesting topic. And yeah, it's like 11:45. I wanted to just take a moment to look at this conversation in the chat in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
There's like this conversation going on. So James says, now I see, talking about the intermittent fasting. Eden has a question about shakes, protein shakes. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, so protein shakes, people think sometimes are kind of a magical thing, but they're actually just food. So instead of eating a chicken breast, you could have a protein shake to get your protein intake. So the only thing you need to be conscious.
There's so many. There's like really gross protein shakes out there, right? You have to be.
Some taste like dirt and sawdust. So it's you want to. I reckon some of the best.
Do you have a recommendation for protein shakes that are
Well, see, most protein shakes are dairy-based, and usually it's reasonably low-quality dairy. It's hard to find organic ones, but you can, but they're just incredibly expensive.
Yeah,
But
online, right? Vegan protein
yeah,
shakes.
there's a couple of good hemp and pea protein mixes, which are not too bad. It really depends. Every country has a different brand, but you want to find one which is not sweetened with aspartame.
Have
So
you been to because a lot of the people in the group are in Cebu. Have you been to Healthy Options here?
yeah, yep,
I think they would have, right? It's just really
yeah,
pricey.
yeah. They should have them. There's I used to get some of my stuff just online
Online.
when I was there, but I'll see if I can find some stuff. But definitely the things to look out for is you want to find one which obviously, even if it's organic and it's plant based, they can put a lot of sugar in there. So you want to make sure they don't add sugar. And they're not adding aspartame. So aspartame would be 950, 951, 952 on the label. So look out for those numbers and make sure that it
Oh,
doesn't
you
have any
mean
of
they
that in
don't
it.
put aspartame?
They don't have to put the name, they can just call you with the number. Yeah,
Oh, wow, that is so
yeah,
manipulative. Okay, got
yeah.
it, got it.
It is. So protein shakes are good if you're eating a plant-based diet and you want to jack up your protein a little bit.
Yeah, because Idan is vegan. He's
Yeah.
vegan.
Yeah, so I think it is important to get a little bit of protein. See, tofu is an okay form of protein, but it's still processed to a certain extent, and it is quite often GMO soy. So if you get an organic tofu, that's
Yeah,
obviously
boys
better.
are talking about the estrogen in soy.
Yeah, so in moderation it's okay, but then if you're eating soy every day, if you're eating tofu every day, and then you're having soy milk in your
Yeah,
drink,
you don't want to
it's
be
hard
eating
to
soy
get
every day.
moderation.
Even me,
Yeah,
like when I have dairy, when I have milk, like vegan milk, I always alternate, um, like soy and then almond and cashew. Like I just coconut,
yeah,
so I don't
yeah.
always have milk. Yeah,
Yep, absolutely. Even oat milk is quite good.
oat milk I haven't tried. It sounds gross. I haven't tried that.
There's
Sorry.
cockroach milk now,
So
right?
David, another David. We have two Davids in the chat group. David Esteban is asking if shakes would count as breaking your fast when you're intermittent fasting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Because they're
Yeah,
high calorie, right? So when
the
you're fasting, what do you can you have? You can have coffee, right? Coffee, tea.
so black coffee, tea,
What?
stevia, basically, yeah, stevia and black tea and coffee. I still
Lemon
if
juice,
I'm
like lemon juice, stuff like that.
lemon juice, okay, but anything which has well, we think that carbohydrates and protein, more so protein, is the thing that breaks the fast. Fats tend to not break the fast so much, but generally, if I'm fasting, I'll have my greens drink in the morning, except I'll just have the lemon, the apple cider vinegar, and the greens powder with water with stevia.
Apple cider vinegar has probiotics, right, for the gut.
It does, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's good for your stomach too.
What
Yeah,
about cacao? I have my cacao. It's 100% pure tablea, and then I would maybe put a little nut milk sometimes. I don't put sugar. Is that okay during my fast? The cacao.
it could break it. It could break it.
It makes it? Oh
Yeah,
no!
it could break it.
Because of
So,
the what? Because of the butter, the cacao butter, or what? Why is it breaking it?
well, as soon as your body receives calories, and it has to start to digest something, it's breaking the fast.
Got it, got
You
it.
know, you're probably still going to get a lot of the benefits, but it's probably there's a chance that it could throw it off. As soon as your body starts to receive something, it stops that fight or flight sort of mechanism. So it's like I've received some nourishment now, so I don't need to keep on doing the things I was doing, and the autophagy of the cells slows down. So just really try and keep it at things which don't have calories. So black tea, green tea.
So in other words, I haven't been intermittent fasting because I have my cacao in the morning.
Well,
Okay.
there's other things that happen when you're intermittent fasting. So like your stomach shrinks a little bit. So you tend to not be as hungry and probably less likely to overeat. One thing that I forgot to say before about intermittent fasting, but that you could do really, really badly, is a lot of people tend to not eat enough calories. So James, this is one thing which could affect your mental status. If you're not eating enough calories overall in the day, so say you're burning 2,500 calories, you're moving around, you're burning 2,500 calories, but I think James, you said you're only eating for 4 hours a day. It's very hard to fit 2,000 calories or 2,500 calories into that 4-hour window. So it's like putting a very, very large log on a very damp fire. So what I do is I alternate my day. So I'll fast on, say, Mondays, I might fast a full day. Tuesday, might fast till lunchtime. Wednesday, I'll eat normally. Thursday, I'll do a 18-hour fast. I think it's really important that you're eating enough calories. So if you're not meeting your basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories you need for your body to survive, then you could be doing damage, like could be causing stress on your body, which is not what we want. So try maybe an 18-hour fast. So you've got 6 hours, and then as soon as you break the fast, take your calories and split them into 3 meals, and try and make sure you're having enough calories so you're not putting stress on your body. That makes sense. I ramble on.
Yeah, totally.
And then another thing that people do with intermittent fasting, which I'm sure you wouldn't do, but they fast for, say, 18 hours and they go through the KFC drive-through on the way home.
I would do that.
So you wouldn't do that, but it's still one of those. But some people do that. They go, I do intermittent fasting so I can eat whatever the fuck I want, in that 4 to 6 hours. But you still got to obviously eat good stuff. But I think one of the big challenges is eating enough calories overall.
Yeah, I don't think that's my problem. Maybe that's James' problem. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
James has another question here, Matt. What's mixing it? He's asking about the apple cider.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more as we wrap up about apple cider?
Yep, so apple cider is it's good for your stomach. So it's probiotics. It'll help with that balancing out the good and bad bacteria in the stomach. And it's also, although it's acidic, when you taste it, when you take it into your body, it actually reduces the acidity in your body and creates a more alkaline.
Do you take it like pure, or how do you take it?
So I mix a capful of apple cider vinegar with my drink, which is like quite large, so it dilutes it. But don't ever put it into your mouth straight, because it will peel the enamel off your teeth.
So you don't shot it.
Don't shot it unless you can get it straight past your teeth, but it will pull the enamel off your teeth after a few months. So that's not so good. So if you are going to mix it into a drink with a little bit of lemon or something first thing in the morning, drink it through a straw so it goes past your teeth, or mix it, dilute it into a larger drink and get it down you, but never straight. But it's again, it's going to reduce the acidity in your body. We know that a lot of disease and problems in your body happens from being inflamed, so it's going to reduce the acidity, which reduces the inflammation, and it helps with your gut bacteria.
Matt, sometimes I try to start my day with lemon water or calamansi water. Is that similar?
Absolutely, yeah. Calamansi or lemon is good. Yeah. Orange is another citrus, but it's not so good because it's high in sugar. So the idea is...
But it doesn't have the probiotics, right? The calamansi.
No. Just it has the alkaline effects on your body.
Just for
because when you're asleep, we lose about 1 litre of water when we're breathing and sweating when we're asleep. We lose about 1 litre of water and we become dehydrated first thing in the morning. So everything you ate from the previous day, it goes to the stomach breaks it down, and then the liver and the kidneys are filtering out all the toxins. So first thing in the morning, if it's any time of the day, you're going to feel achy and creaky. That's first thing in the morning. So a lot of people, they get up and they have a coffee, which dehydrates them even further. So the first thing you need to do before you have a coffee is have a glass of room temperature water with lemon, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and if you've got some greens powder, some stevia, mix that in.
So Matt, I can add like a tablespoon of apple cider to my lemon water.
Yep. I probably even even a teaspoon. Start off with maybe a teaspoon.
Okay.
I wouldn't have more than probably about 2 teaspoons. A tablespoon might be a bit much.
Oh, good, good. I can do a teaspoon probably. Okay. What
Yeah.
and I can put like what about agave? Agave nectar is okay, right? It's low glycemic.
No.
Not
that will break your fast, and it is also
okay.
it is still sugars in there as
It's
well.
still
So that,
sugar. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Cool, cool, cool.
Can
So
you get stevia? Can you get stevia there at the moment? Is it
yeah,
easy to find stevia? So
there's stevia and healthy options here. Yeah, we can
yeah,
get it.
I
But
really recommend
I like
stevia.
the flavor of agave.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can have that later in the day. Mix it into a shake later in the day or a juice or something later in the day. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean there are other things I want to talk to you about, but I think we'll just have to schedule another call perhaps. Since it's almost lunchtime and I'll wrap this up for everyone. I'd love to hear about where people can find you, maybe share a little bit about are you doing online
Yeah,
consultation?
absolutely. Yep. So healyourbodywithfood.net is my website. So I do face-to-face consults in my office here, but also do Skype consultations as well, or Zoom.
Nice, nice.
I was saying to Wendy, I feel like an old man. I'm just learning how to use Zoom.
Yeah,
But
this is
yeah,
Matt's first live and his
it works.
first
It
Zoom. And
works. Yeah, yeah.
I told
So
you.
I'll put the we'll put the link somewhere if you want to find me. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to drop me a line. My email address is healyourbodyWithFood@yahoo.com, but we'll put it all down below. But sorry, I tend to
Yeah.
ramble on a bit, and I haven't really covered a lot of the things that I was going to cover, but
No, we didn't. I told you
got
we wouldn't cover this.
I was so prepared.
I know. I was like teasing you, but
But
no, I
if
mean,
there is anything anyone wants any more information on, let me know and I can send you an email.
yeah, for sure. And feel free to post in the group. And I'm looking at all these comments. Matt, you might take time to look at them later. I haven't had time to
Yeah.
read all the comments down.
I'll hop online.
Before we leave, can you just say one word about alcohol? I think did you mention something about very briefly?
Yeah, alcohol, I
What is
love
that?
it.
I know you love it.
I think you've seen me drunk a few times, but all
No,
in
you're like, oh,
moderation.
I'm hungover, like this, like that. Like, wait a minute, you're this health guru. Why are you always hungover? Okay, tell me.
Yeah, it's all about balance. No, alcohol is good in moderation. So we know that red wine and spirits in general help thin our blood, and there is antioxidants in it. But we're talking like one glass. Who can stay with one glass? But I tend to try to only drink sort of a glass a couple of times a week, and then maybe one night where I might have 3 or 4 or more. But the problem with
Once a week you go on a bender. Isn't that bad for your sugar? Like, how often?
no, it's no. I try not to. Sometimes I go for months without having a drink. When I'm in the Philippines, though, it's very very difficult because everyone wants to go out, right?
Oh yeah, blame it on the others.
But the effect on your body is if you have too much alcohol, it can increase your cortisol levels, which can affect your sleep, which can affect your mental health. Going back to sort of eating poorly, gaining
I
fat,
want to
high
talk
blood
about next time. Can we talk about cortisol and testosterone and dopamine and serotonin? And I love talking about those things.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about sugar and the addictive qualities of sugar and how that can mess with your mental health. There's so
Well,
much
let's
other
just
stuff.
say, guys, sugar is evil. It's like heroin.
Yeah, don't touch it. It is. It is. Yeah, don't touch sugar.
Don't
Anyway,
touch sugar.
conscious of it. We need to make another time. So if anyone's got any other questions, put them down below, and we'll address those.
We'll schedule some sort of part 2 of this if you're cool with it. All
Sound
right.
good. All right.
Thank you so much for your time and your
Pleasure.
knowledge. And yeah, I'll see you around in the group and again for our part 2 of this.
Yes, sounds good. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Matt. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye.
Take care. See ya.